So today we have one of the most dynamic and young entrepreneurs in the country who heads one of the major FMCG business which is booming for the last few years and has a prospect of going forward for many years. So let me introduce you to Mr. Varun Jaipuria, CEO of Varun Beverages Ltd.
How are you? Hi, Arnab.
Hi. So over the last few years, Varun Beverages has been growing by leaps and bounds, and its market cap has grown beyond probably most of the analysts could anticipate. So how do you see the growth coming, and what are the areas the growth coming from, and how do you see the business growing? What are the factors that are working?
I think one of the biggest factors is the relationship between PepsiCo and us, which has been there for the last 3 decades now. And I think in 2019 was a big acquisition what we did between the South and the West territories, which gave us about 90% control over the India volumes. That helped us obviously make faster decisions in the market, faster go-to-market as well, pack price unlocks, which have helped us given that growth as well. I think another big factor is that we've always invested ahead of the curve. We've always believed in the business, believed in the last couple of decades in terms of what growth we've been able to achieve. And capex is a big unlock point in terms of ensuring that we have enough capacity. So even after 19 and COVID came, we still kept on investing in capacity. All our distributors, which are the core strength, we ensure that the distribution channel stays stable. And at the same time, the growth which we've got in 22 has been a culmination of all the things what we have done. Another thing I think was that when it comes to thinking out of the box, we actually took a big initiative in one of our large packs, because as COVID came, the gatherings became much smaller. The bigger parties weren't happening. So we took one of our packs, which was 1.25, and we did a very strong pricing on that. And that helped us really penetrate into the household in a deeper way. And that gave us a lot of momentum for the PepsiCo range as well, and brands to kind of start getting into the household and expanding distribution. So those are a few things I think were the building blocks in terms of 19 till now, what have really given us that growth and given us that acceleration.
So you mentioned about the refranchising, which was a very big event for the VBL's journey over the last many years. So since then, you mentioned also about the capex. So where did the capex went? Did you need to increase the number of production units? So can you give us a little bit of idea?
So I think when you talk about capex, right, there are 2 parts of it. One part is the greenfield operations, what you have to do. So we've opened a lot of greenfield locations, a lot of new markets as well of ours, where we're seeing very high significant growth to serve that market. And the second is brownfield. So our existing plants where we had space and we were getting growth, we did a large brownfield expansion as well. So over the number of years, if you see every year, we're expanding, because if you see our growth as well, over the last few years, there have been very high double-digit growth what we're getting. To serve that, it's been a blend of both those reasons. That's the Indian market. And if you look at the market outside India, we've been trying to acquire more markets or countries, as you can call it, as and when they're available. So over the last 3 to 5 years, it could be Zimbabwe, it could be Zambia, it could be Mozambique, it could be DRC, and now South Africa with the latest acquisition we've done. So we're trying to obviously organically grow the business at the same time. And if there are future opportunities available for outside, we're acquiring that as well. And so it's been a culmination of both of them, why we've been able to do so well.
As you rightly mentioned about the acquisition in South Africa and the expansion of business in overseas market, and I guess you are already one of the top bottlers for PepsiCo globally, not just in India, of course. So where do you see things going from here in the international market specifically?
I think international markets, like I said, we're picking up a lot of nascent markets where either Pepsi has not been there, it's been a white space, or the market share has been very low, right? So the room or the scope you have to grow in those markets is very high. I think I can give you a couple of examples. Like Zimbabwe, when we picked up the market, there was no Pepsi available. So that's been a big lever. In DRC as well, Pepsi is not there. So we're opening a plant, and it's a huge market, growing population. And Africa has a younger population even compared to India. So consumption is going to be very massive. So again, it could be Zimbabwe, it could be South Africa, what we're buying. We have certain formulations or formulas, as you can call it, which have worked for us in those markets, which we'll end up using up in these markets as well, or applying to these markets as well.
And if you look at the India market, which you directly head and operate in, So there are two kinds of stories that are coming out from the macroeconomic point of view. One is that India, of course, is the global focus now. Investors are coming to India, looking it is the fastest growing market. On the other hand, there has been a slump in consumption for most FMCG players, except Varun Beverages and the beverages market. So how do you see the market developing for the last 7 or 8 quarters, and where do you see things going in India now?
I think, like you said, the GDP growth is a big factor. There's a lot of money coming in. We're looking at a 6, 7, 8% GDP growth going forward. That means that if the economy grows, there'll be more money coming into the consumers. So that's going to be the biggest lever what we have. The second thing is that there are about 12 million FMCG outlets, right? And today, beverage as an industry, our penetration is very low, because for us to expand, you need infrastructure and you need electricity. You can't sell a hot beverage when it's 45 degrees. It's not going to happen, right? Now, I think in the last couple of years, whenever I travel to a smaller city or tier 3 city, there is electricity available for 20 hours, 24, 21 hours, 22 hours, right? That is enabling all the beverage companies to expand their distribution very rapidly. So we are probably, as a beverage industry, probably 1/4, I would say, in terms of where we are, or 1/3, I would say, actually, where we are in terms of what our numeric distribution is. So there's a huge scope, and the 12 million will eventually end up growing as well at the same time. So there's a lot of catch-up what we have to do. And that's a big lever for us as well in terms of the future growth. The second thing is, I would say, is that the per cap consumption. The per cap consumption right now for us is only 51 to 52 bottles per person for the full year. And if you see the US or Mexico, they're sitting at 1,200, 1,300. And if you don't look at them as well, looking at our neighboring countries, they're at 80, 90, 100, right? Now, that again shows that the consumption is very, very low right now. So how do you kind of build the right portfolio? How do you invest in the right capex? That's key, right? Because you need capacity to obviously expand. So we have a lot of capacity what we're building over the next few years, what we have a plan for. Infrastructure, again, that how do you actually solve for your GTM, that how does your product reach from A to B? We're investing a lot into infra. Third thing I would say is that people capability. That is very, very essential for us. People are our key pillar, right? And we're building new capabilities when it comes to training, when it comes to succession planning, when it comes to the digital capabilities. That's the fourth pillar, which is in line with people capability as well. That how do you expand into digital, right? How do you improve your go-to-market? How do you figure out where to sell, what to sell, how to sell? Because within India, there are different markets. Right. When you go to your metro markets, your 5 lakh plus markets, the consumption patterns are different compared to your rural markets, right? And what capability do you need to sell what sort of a portfolio in which market? We're figuring that out, and that's helped us obviously get us growth as well. The fifth thing I would say is that over the next 5 to 7 years, we're looking at ESG as being a center point of the organization, because we believe that we want to be the most admired company, admired beverage company in the world. To do so, there is a lot of investment what we are doing to ensure that there is a good balance between the top line, the bottom line, and what we're able to give back to society as well. So there's a lot of initiatives what we've done over water consumption, over energy usage, renewable energy, diversity, and various initiatives. So I think these 4 or 5 pillars, if we're able to get right, and I think the biggest one is a portfolio unlock. What I was saying, that if you can unlock the right portfolio at the right price for the consumer in the entire supply chain, which is your distributor, retailer, and your consumer, there is no reason why you will not grow, because the outlets, you're only 1/3. Per capita consumption also, you're very, very low in terms of per cap consumption. So I think the headway is massive for us over the next decade. And it's very, very positive is what we're looking at.
So, apart from the refranchising exercise, what has also happened in the past few years is, as you have taken over Varun Beverages Ltd, the India and Southeast Asia operations. So, does that mean that there is a significant change in the strategy or vision for the company, shifting from Mr. Ravi Jaipuria's vision?
No, I think that me and my father luckily are very aligned in terms of the way we run the business. Of course, as the business are growing, it requires a different sort of skill set. The kind of people you're hiring today are Gen Zs and millennials, and their expectations are very, very different. How do you manage them? So at times, I think when he operated and when I'm operating right now, and the landscape is changing pretty fast as well, right? Apart from that, the digital space, the space I spoke to you about, that is obviously changing as well. You know, you've got the e-com players now, you've got the modern trade players now, you've got the B2B players now. You've got a lot of handhelds going in, so you can track a lot of data, what the outlet is selling, how much he's selling, how much he's buying. So I think all that was not available earlier. Now all that is obviously available today, and a lot of tools what companies are using to analyze and see how they can serve the consumers better. So I think that is the primary difference, that how do you kind of look for the future and eventually move into a AI sort of a program where you can build algorithms based on the data you have and see that how can you surgically strike different markets and see what advantages you have. Because India is again not one market. Right. Everywhere you're selling a different portfolio, different price, different pack, and it's a large country. So I think that's the differentiation. Otherwise, in terms of running the operations and being hungry for growth, I think at his age, he's still more hungry than growth, I can say, compared to where I am at times.
But you are so digitally savvy and you are aware of the market dynamics, the requirement of tech and IT in business. But why aren't you personally active on social media, as we are mentioning? Tell us something. Why you are so shy away from media?
I'm not shy. I've just never been used to it. I've just never been used to it. I don't get the time for it. So I just, it's not, I'm trying to stay away too much from it, but it's just that I just don't get enough time to spend time on social media, and because I've got so much work to do at the back end. So I like my role, what I'm doing. I prefer where I am.
But what do you like to do when you are not working or maybe in a stressful situation? How do you manage that?
Well, I have good people, luckily, so they don't stress me out as much compared to what I should be stressed out about. And we've got good people who've been working with us for 20 years, 30 years, and it's a very stable organization, luckily, right? And I think, again, I was telling you that speed and agility is very, very important in the market for us, right? So we are able to align ourselves with PepsiCo and internally as well, because we know what the culture of the organization is and what is required for the market. So in terms of that stress, I don't have too much. But whenever, I guess, operating a business, everybody has some sort of stress. How I run away from it is either I play tennis quite a bit. So I'm a very avid tennis player and avid watcher as well. And this is what I started 20 years back. And apart from that, me and my wife, we cook a lot. We've got a vegetable garden. So we're trying to find new recipes all the time. I sketch sometimes. So I think, for me as well, I don't do the same thing for too long. I like to keep changing it up, trying to see where I can hone my skills and find new, interesting, more activities to kind of...
OTT?
Sorry?
OTT, do you...
Oh yeah, I watch Netflix, I like my TV shows, but I try to stay away sometimes, because when I put something on I like, you will see like 6 episodes I've seen basically. So I know that when I get into something, I get really deep into it. So when I have time, then of course, then I do have my escape and we move away.
Something that you liked watching recently on...
Oh, I'm watching The Crown right now, actually. Yeah, I just started watching The Crown. Everybody spoke a lot about it, and I was thinking, should I get into it? Should I get into it? So finally, me and my wife started watching it, because in some TV shows, she's on season 5 and I'm on season 3. So we have to find something common as well we can spend time on. So we both hadn't seen The Crown. So we just started watching it, and it's a whole legacy change from... the previous predecessor to the successor, who is Queen Elizabeth. Yeah. So that's been very interesting as well, because she went through a lot of change. I'm going through a lot of change in my organization. So I've been watching that, and it's been very interesting to see how she's been able to manage it as well. And
any lessons or words of advice from your father to you when you started into the business that he's always still cherish?
Yeah, he's always told me one thing, that no matter what it is, make a decision. The worst thing will happen is you get it wrong. But once you get it wrong, at least you know how to fix it. Because if you don't make a decision, you'll never know if you're right or wrong. So whatever you do, make a decision, Varun. Don't keep it pending. Right? So that's the biggest advice he's always given me, that make the decision, don't worry about it. And if you get it wrong, fix it and get it right. And don't be in limbo. Because a lot of people stay in limbo. If you stay in limbo, you'll never know what is right, what is wrong. True. And I try to live my life with that philosophy, and I tell my people as well that whatever it is, there should be no decision pending from my side. No matter it's 11 o'clock at night or 9, you call me and take the decision from me. Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. But don't keep it pending from my side. So that's what I keep telling them all the time. And that's the words of wisdom, what he's told me. And I try to live by those words.
Yeah. So far in the last 2 years, things have proved to be more towards true than wrong.
Yeah. I mean, God's been kind. He's built a very successful a successful business, a great team. So I'm very fortunate, yes. Very, very fortunate.
So thank you, Varun,
for
talking
so much
to us.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And hope that your company and your business and, of course, your passion keep growing. And,
thank you. Thank you for taking the time, Arnab. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.